Ben and Brittany here. We wanted to sit down with you and give you our first month review of being on the road. So this would have been middle of January when we left to middle of February. So just want to talk through kind of where we've been, general stats about being on the road, cover our finances. A lot of people want to know how much does it cost to full-time. So we've been able to actually have a full month of data to be able to do that for you. And then just some of our top places, things and moments that we've kind of seen in the first month of being on the road. In our description, we will put a kind of link to different sections. So if you're only interested in finance, you can kind of click forward and see that. But definitely any questions on anything that we go over, feel free to shoot us a comment and we'd be happy to answer anything. So first up, just want to chat through kind of where we've been this month.
Yep, so we started off in Kansas City, Missouri. That was home for the last 7 years. We literally signed papers on our house, left that day, went down through Oklahoma City, just stayed there for the one night, ended up finding a free campsite in a casino parking lot, found it on Campendium or freecampsites.net, I forget which one. Worked out good, they had hookups and everything, but literally just went through there for the night. We moved on from there to Caprock Canyon, outside of Amarillo, I want to say about an hour outside of Amarillo in northern Texas. Yeah. There for about a week, and then we went on through Waco, Austin, San Antonio, and then down to Magnolia Beach, a little bit south of Galveston on the coast, which was gorgeous. And then from there we went up through Houston and out of Texas, going out towards Louisiana. But that was pretty much our month. Texas was a big state, had a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff to see, a lot to go back to. We really enjoyed Texas.
A lot more we wanted to see, but we didn't really have the time to go through.
Or weather.
Yeah, or weather. It was really cold when we left still. I think the whole country was kind of going through that cold spell. So unfortunately, we weren't able to enjoy as much of Texas as we wanted to. We probably would have stayed a little longer if it would have warmed up a bit. But we just didn't have time to go further south and everything. So I definitely will be going back to Texas on the next loop around.
Yep. If you guys want to check out at all where we've been in more detail on our website, scottlife.com, there's a Maps tab up top. If you click that, you'll see our entire Google Maps with our route and all the places that we stayed, all the main attractions that we saw, any really good places that we ate at that we'd recommend or anything like that.
Yeah, full route, food, attractions.
Everything. Yep, check it out. Anyways, on to the stats, one of my favorite parts. So we did 2,400 miles just about of driving in a month, which is a lot. Before we left Kansas City, though, this was kind of interesting for us to see, is between the two of us in both cars, and we had a motorcycle, so any driving combined, we were about 2,900 miles. So even though we drove all the way from Kansas City, Oklahoma to Texas, all the way around and out, we still did about 500 miles less than we did back in Kansas City.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we both drove 30 minutes to work each way and everything else. So, I mean, we did a lot of driving back home, but to cover ground like this and travel full time, we still did less, which was kind of surprising.
And I think of that 2,400 miles, I think I drove twice.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I did most of it, which is fine. Worked out good.
Yeah.
You were on kid entertain duty, so worked out fine. So we are driving a F-250 diesel 6.7, and we've got a, 32, 34-foot travel trailer somewhere in there. And towing that, we were averaging about 11.5 miles per gallon. Before we left, like totally empty, just driving the truck alone, I think I was about 15 to 16. So give you a little bit of an idea of, how much difference there is. We did, 77 hours of driving. That sounds like a lot, and it is a lot.
But surprisingly, I feel like our first month on the road, it didn't feel like we were on the road as much as we truly were, just because we had never been to Texas before going this time around.
There's a lot to see. Yeah.
And so there was a lot to see and a lot of different things to take in that we really didn't know about Texas. We drove a lot of backcountry and got to see just some interesting places and things and life in general in Texas. So even though it was 77 hours of driving, it really didn't feel 100% like 77 hours of driving.
And I think the most of that, like a lot of that too, was driving like from Kansas City down to northern Texas.
Yeah.
And I think that while we were driving, like I really enjoyed travel days. I enjoyed them more than I thought I would, just because you do get to see a lot more of the countryside.
Agree.
And when we were in Kansas City even, we guesstimated that we did about 60 hours of driving for work alone for the month.
Yeah.
Plus our weekend
Plus,
little drive here, go to the grocery store, go to wherever else we were going. So we probably still did 70 hours of driving back from Kansas City. And I think that was one of the things that we both kind of hated a lot about the city life, was how much time we spent just aimlessly driving in the car.
Well, and drove separate too, because when you're driving to work, he's going one way, I'm going the other. We're dropping Lily off at daycare, picking her up, and at least this way, like that 2,400 miles that we drove, it was time that we drove together and spent together as a family.
Yeah.
If we got sick of being in the car, we could just stop and go and play at a park for an hour and then
Explore
continue on.
else.
So the 2,400 miles together makes it feel a lot less time.
It's a lot better than 60 plus hours in the car by yourself every month.
Yeah.
So, all right, on to camping stats. Where we camped, how many nights we camped. So surprisingly enough, we did 7 nights of free camping in our first month.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what we expected going into this, but I don't think I expected in our first month to do that much, like free camping, dry camping, boondocking, whatever you want to call it.
Just because we didn't know what it was. Ish.
Yeah.
We kind of knew what it was, but we didn't know what we were capable of.
Yeah.
So I think that we really didn't think that we would test that much on boondocking.
Yeah,
I thought maybe
not in the beginning,
3 nights, 4 nights, maybe
just
max.
in transit kind of stuff, yeah.
But Magnolia Beach was one of our biggest ones that we did the boondocking at, and we were there for 4 days alone.
Yeah, 4 or 5 days.
And that
in the casino
allowed us to kind of get a little bit used to it. So, but yeah, 7 nights, and that included, Walmart, parking lots.
which is elegant.
Which we'll touch on later.
Yeah.
Just parks and beaches, different things. So kind of a variety of different free camping. But
Yep. So 7 nights of free. That left us with 24 nights paid, of which 13 nights were in state or county parks, and then the other 11 were in RV park, resort kind of stuff. I think that even just in that first month, we really kind of figured out that the state parks was kind of our thing.
yeah.
Obviously better than a Walmart, but
But anything is.
we were in one bigger RV park, and it was like sardines side by side, a little bit too restricted, and no ground cover, no trees.
I think
no nothing.
there's a lot of advantages
perks,
and
but-
disadvantages to both of them.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to feel a little different. I think what works for us is kind of having a combination of the two.
Yeah.
Having a little bit of the state park, having a little bit of the RV resorts or private parks as well, because you kind of can take advantage of both situations.
Yeah, at least that way for Lily and everything, we get a pool or a playground or anything like that. So from that sense, that's kind of been our balance that's worked for us.
Yeah, we evenly spread out though, from free to state park to RV resorts, and we'll definitely continue to share how we go in the future.
Yep.
So next we'll be moving on to finances. So finances, a lot of people want to know how much does it cost to truly be on the road. So kind of a couple of things of disclaimer to talk about up front for us. So first month we did cover a lot of ground, so definitely I think our gas and everything will be a little bit higher than what we'll see in months to come. But major important thing is our truck and trailer are both paid off 100%. So with the sale of our house, we were able to go ahead and pay everything off. So one thing to note is we don't have any outstanding bills coming into us being on the road. I also going to kind of talk about a little bit of breakdown of what's in each category. One thing though you will see is a medical category. So, medicine, doctor visits, anything like that. Right now we are expecting our second child in July, so I do want to put a disclaimer that in any of our monthly recaps we are not including any of the medical bills for the baby, just because it's really going to kind of skew and throw off for someone who's not expecting on the road. So anything though, if Ben does end up at the doctor, or Lily has to go to the doctor for anything, we will include that, but just not for the baby. So one thing to kind of disclaim there. Also, before we left, we did a recap of our monthly expenses for November and December, just to kind of have a side-by-side comparison for you guys to see, hey, where were we before and where were we on the road. Anything that we bought though in those months, kind of prepping to leave with the RV, we did not include. So stuff like
Camera gear,
tire chocks, hoses, leveling blocks. I mean, all those things that you kind of need to start up to be on the road, I'm not including in those November, December expenses. And we'll definitely share in a later video or later blog post kind of what those items were that it took for us to get started. And what it costs to do that. But right now we're kind of just talking about those normal monthly expenses. You also may have heard in a previous video, we do still own a lake house in Lake of the Ozarks area in Missouri. And do want to let you know that any of our monthly expenses are not including that lake house because we are kind of acting as a separate entity from that. And also kind of our rentals cover those costs. So just a couple of things of disclaimer on our finances before we get going into the nitty gritty. So first off, I want to give a recap of where our expenses were when we were living in our house back in Kansas City. So if we do November to December, kind of middle of the month review, we had a total of just over $4,700. And that included, and I'm going to pull it up on the screen here so you can follow along with me. So charity, clothing, daycare, we did have a dog before we left, so dog expenses, entertainment, anything extra that doesn't really fit into a category, whether it be just a special treat out with Lily or a craft project or sending something in the mail, kind of those random miscellaneous expenses, vehicle gas, groceries, insurance for our vehicle and motorcycle previously does not include, well, I guess it technically includes house insurance with our mortgage. Meals out, any medical, our mortgage, phone, storage, because we were at the time storing the trailer at a place, and then we also purchased our storage for all of our things once we sold our house. So storage, subscriptions, that's your Hulu, Netflix, kind of your odds and ends like that. Vehicle maintenance, and then utilities, so your gas, electric, everything for a normal house.
Okay.
So again, for November, we saw about just shy of $5,000, so $4,700. December to January, we saw this increase to $5,257. And again, going to show you guys a side-by-side comparison. But kind of our general extras went up a little bit higher. You can see, daycare, we were spending $840 a month on that. Let's see what else. Mortgage, $914, that's going to completely go away. Our storage went down a little bit, but our utilities and everything went up higher because we were closing out being in the house. And then just general vehicle maintenance. So that will give you guys kind of an idea of where we came from when we were living in kind of that sticks and bricks house. Mm-hmm. So now to give you guys where we were at on the road. So this would again be when we left January 11th to February 10th. And so our categories will change a little bit. So now you're going to see that we have a campground category, as well as a mail category, because we do pay for a mail forwarding company. Memberships such as Passport America, Harvest Host, Fulltime families. So any of those memberships that you kind of buy into as being on the road.
And if they're a one-time fee, then we broke those out month by month, right? If we bought them up front.
No, just because most of them are smaller. Most of them are...
That's why I don't do the finances.
Most of them, yeah. Let's just say that Ben doesn't do any finances for our family. Most of the memberships are pretty small amounts, so they're $20 to $50. So I went ahead and just took the entire cost of that month. Vehicle maintenance switched over to an RV maintenance category, and that's about it. So for January, first month on the road, we saw just shy of $3,800. So we definitely saw a decrease. I don't know what we really expected being on the road. We knew that some of those major factors like daycare, we were spending a couple $100s a month on our dog, utilities, all that. We knew that would all go away, mortgage. But then we also knew the cost of campgrounds, things like that would come into play.
And gas.
But our first month, we did really good on campgrounds. You'll see in our second month, it'll be a higher amount because of where we went, but we only spent $550 for the month on campground fees. So I feel like we rocked that.
Really good, yeah.
Charity stays in there just because that's an ongoing monthly commitment to World Vision. Entertainment's going to include just kind of those odds and ends of something we want to go visit. So, for example, our first month, which we'll talk about in a second, we went to a kind of safari wildlife ranch that you could drive through. So that included anything like that. Extras, we went to Magnolia Market in Waco, bought a few things, probably shouldn't have. Bought a few decorations for the RV. I also planned a trip back to Kansas City, so that included a little bit of my Southwest fees. So those were kind of what included our $391 for the extra. Gas, we saw $700 in gas. And we were, what did we say? We were spending about $450 previously in Kansas City each month. So again, we saw gas go up, but we also knew we drove a lot more in our first month than we had expected, so we do expect that to kind of decrease going
especially
forward.
Towing too. I mean, you're going from 15 or 16 miles a gallon down to 11 and a half, 12, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so we saw 700. Groceries and meals out, between the two of them, I think that we are really going to, on a normal basis, see about $1,100 a month between the two. We are trying to take different routes to be able to save a little bit more on the groceries. We knew that our first couple months on the road, we probably weren't as careful with our grocery bill as we could have been. But groceries, that does include food, toilet paper, paper towel, cleaners, those maybe extra coloring books for Lily, different things that you buy basically at like a Walmart or
kind of stuff.
Anything like that. So groceries isn't just food. It does kind of encompass all that extra stuff as well. But like I said, we're seeing about $1,100 a month is our average for those two things. Insurance, so we do have insurance on the truck and trailer, and that's about $224 a month. Internet, this is really high this month. We expect this to go down, if not be eliminated altogether in the future, and we'll fill you in on that later. But we saw $175 for our hotspot through AT&T. Mail, as I said before, we do pay for a mail forwarding service. Shout out to Your Best Address in South Dakota. They've been really wonderful to work with, and it's really nice. It's all online, so you just look into a inbox, say if you want them to open it and scan it, and then you pay per scan, and then from there they can forward it to you if you need it physically in front of you. If not, you can just have them recycle or shred it for free.
You get that text too. If you want to, you can get a text saying that you've got new mail. Yeah,
so they've been really great, so we only saw a $5 cost for that. Meals out, like I said, that between groceries and meals out, we're about $1,100 a month. Memberships, that I believe was our Passport America membership. And then phone, this did increase from November, December not being on the road because I purchased a new phone. So that includes the cost for me to have my new phone as well as insurance on top of service for my phone. RV maintenance, we have about $114. Storage, again, that's our storage unit back in Kansas City, so we'll see that consistently at $130 a month. And then subscriptions, Hulu, Netflix, all that kind of stuff. So again, January, I feel like we did pretty solid.
Yeah.
Shy of $3,800 for the month for expenses.
I think it was better than I expected for the first month. I figured we'd start out a little higher than that and find a way to whittle our way down. Whereas I think our February, March are going to go up just because of being in Florida and being in some of the hotter areas.
So. But we'll definitely give you guys a next review. And I know I went through a lot of different numbers and stats and everything, but head on over to thescottlife.com on our blog, and I'll give you kind of a full breakdown of everything in writing so you can visually see in front of you as well. So definitely check that out if you want to see a little bit more.
Yep, exactly. All right, I think the last section then is our favorite places, things, moments that we've seen done in the last month. So we had a hard time kind of prioritizing this one with the exception of probably the first one. I think the first one on both of our lists was Caprock Canyon. It was the state park that we stayed at in northern Texas.
Outside of
Amarillo. It was like the first place that we stayed outside of the casino going down through Oklahoma City.
Let's be real though, not only the first place we stayed on our trip, but like the first place we ever camped. We've never camped.
No.
So this
that might hold some weight. Yeah.
So this was also like, oh my goodness, we're doing this. So I think the reality of it all really set in, especially Lily was full-time in daycare before we left. I was working full-time. I've never been a stay-at-home mom. And so the reality, I think, of holy cow, we are around each other 24/7, and
there's definitely a sense of panic.
Yeah, well, and it didn't help
days.
that when we left, it was still really cold. So when we got to Cap Rock, we couldn't even hook up water our first few nights because we were worried about because we were below freezing.
Yeah.
So we couldn't
lot.
really go out and enjoy being in nature as much as we wanted to because it was too cold and we were kind of stuck in this RV for 8 days.
Yeah.
So not only were we going from Lily playing with her friends every day and being at school, me being at work,
sticks and bricks home,
everything, we were kind of going to just being in this tiny RV for 8 days straight. And at the time, Ben, with his work, had an event that first weekend, and so Ben wasn't even available to hang out with us the first weekend we were on the road.
Yeah.
So Cap Rock was definitely that moment of, oh gosh, did we make the right decision or didn't we? But once we were able to really get a little bit of a group going between us, I think that we all kind of adjusted in Cap Rock. And not to mention, Cap Rock not only was kind of sentimental for us, but Cap Rock was beautiful.
Stunning, and it was gorgeous.
First off, one of the coolest things about it is the wildlife. So it is home of the Texas State bison herd, and so it is a protected area for the bison, and so you're just walking to the bathroom and all of a sudden there's a bison just sitting there.
We'd be down at the park, Lily swinging on the swings there, and I've got video of 2 or 3 bison in the background just sitting there eating.
Yeah.
In that sense, it was gorgeous. When we saw coyotes, rabbits, everything. I mean, there was the prairie dogs were everywhere.
Yeah, right by the bathroom there was like a prairie dog little village, and they would just run around and scurry everywhere, so that was kind of cool. So wildlife was really neat.
A lot of gorgeous hiking.
The terrain itself was, just because, again, as I said before, we've never been to Texas. So the terrain of kind of that red rocks and canyons, it was really beautiful. Now with Lily, we didn't get to enjoy the hiking as much as we would have probably wanted to, but we still went on a couple little hikes with her, and that was a lot of fun. And you could kind of drive pretty far down through the park. So Cap Rock was beautiful. Like, we would definitely put it on our list to go back to and visit again. When it's a little warmer.
I know Palo Duro was on the list as well. It was not too far from Cap Rock. That was our original intention, but the signal that we had heard, signal strength for me for work, stopped us from going there. So between the two of them, I think we'll definitely be back.
Yeah.
All right, next one. This one was pretty easy win as well. Was Austin. I don't think we knew too much going into Austin and what to expect. We picked a campground pretty easily and did a tiny bit of research, but we knew we were going through no matter what. But Austin kind of surprised us, I think. We only spent, was it a day in like downtown Austin?
Yeah, full day downtown.
Yeah, because I think I only got like the one Saturday off or the one Sunday or something like that. But we went down to the Hope Gallery, which was like a free cement village kind of...
like an artist area where
spray
people...
painting and graffiti kind of thing. But it was awesome. They were in the process of moving it or redoing it somewhere else, so it was fenced off at the time, so we couldn't really walk through as much as you could before. But we got a lot of good pictures. It was really cool to see. Some gorgeous artwork. Got the drone up even, which is kind of cool. So we'll get some videos of that for you. But otherwise, culture. I mean, the culture of Austin was really neat. We went down to a couple of the restaurants down there and just walked around, and I think the Keep Austin Weird saying definitely fits.
I didn't even know that was a saying before we went to Austin, and then Ben had said something about it, and I was like, okay, this makes sense.
But it was a good weird though. Like, it was a cool weird.
I think it was one of those things like when you like to go to a mall and you like to just people watch, like you could do that in Austin for weeks on end. Like, and never get bored of it. People just are not afraid to express themselves, and just kind of whatever makes them happy they do, and so it was really kind of cool to just be an onlooker to that.
Where else did we go? We went down to Barton Springs and Zilker Park. That was really neat. Lily got to play on the playground, massive playground, for a long time. They got a little train that circles the park that you can take a ride on for $3-4 or something like that. And then they've got the pool down at the bottom, and I forget what it was. Like, it was a constant 60-something degrees or 70 degrees. I mean,
there's people swimming. I mean, it was cold.
People swimming the whole time.
It was cold when we went, and there was people swimming. Would we have gone swimming? We decided not to, but I can definitely understand how in the summer it would be really, really cool place to check out.
And then like the river that kind of runs up to it was gorgeous. When we were doing like the little train ride looking down the valley there, A lot of people out kayaking and stuff through it, and I mean,
a lot of people.
it was gorgeous water. Would have loved to have done that if we had another day. But that was Barton Springs, and then we went to Gordo's for dinner.
Yeah, we did not a ton of food, but we hit up a couple of taco stands, which the $20 taco stand that I went to then turned into a $65 taco stand visit because I got a parking ticket my first day in Austin. But we did a couple places for tacos, and then Gordo's. We went to Gordo's, and it's like a donut dinner, essentially. We'd heard a few things about it from people when we went, and it was so good. You kind of feel a little guilty because every entree has a donut integrated into it somehow, but it was delicious.
I didn't know what that meant, though. Like, there's a donut in everything.
But it's not it wasn't a glazed donut. It was just like a, what do you call it? Uncoated donut.
Yeah, non-glazed. I mean, even like Lily, she had a grilled cheese sandwich, and it was a donut cut in half with grilled cheese, but like a non-glazed. It was phenomenal. Yeah,
it was so good.
And we had, what was it, that chicken, like a chicken fried steak or something, and that like what you would typically get for like the bread of that was a donut, like unglazed donut. And it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
So donut aside, like the food quality itself was excellent. The ambiance was great.
I think I actually enjoyed my entree a little bit more than the dessert because, like, obviously being a donut place, you have tons of dessert, donuts, everything. But I think that I actually enjoyed our entree a little bit more than we did on the dessert.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we fought over who gets the leftovers for the next day or two.
But I won because I'm pregnant.
True.
But when we were in Austin, we stayed at McKinney Falls State Park, and it was
awesome.
It was a great place. We really didn't have high expectations, to be honest, going into it.
Especially because it was close to the city, I think.
Yeah, it was really close to downtown. I think 15, 20 minutes from downtown. But it was a full state park. I mean, it was beautiful. You felt like you had this little nature oasis right outside of the city. It had the upper and lower falls, so we were able to go down in the evenings and walk down and kind of check those out. Big wooden slips.
The slips are huge.
It was quiet in general.
So much space.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think that was probably one of the biggest slips that we've had. But McKinney Falls was so great, and when we went, they were already starting to book out for like the next few months, and I can definitely understand why, because it was just a quaint little getaway from the city. So McKinney Falls, if you're in Austin, check it out, and then go to Gordo's. It's so good. So that was our time in Austin. We didn't have a ton of time, but it was cool. I think I'd go back to Austin.
Yeah.
And hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, especially if we had a little bit longer. Like I said, I only had the one day off of work, I think, while we were there. So I could definitely spend a couple more days in the surrounding area because we didn't get to do much outside of downtown.
Okay, so after we left Austin, we headed down to San Antonio, and the day that we were driving to San Antonio that morning, we did stop at the Natural Bridge Wildlife Ranch, and that was a pretty cool place. We've only been through a normal walk-through zoo, so this was kind of a drive-through in your own vehicle, safari style. They do give you food so you could feed the animals. So the first part we saw antelope and reindeer and bison,
goats.
I mean, just a wide plethora of animals in the first little drive-through.
A big steer too.
Yes, a cow with the biggest, literally the biggest,
that big around
horns that you'll ever see. And that was pretty cool to see. When you continued through, we saw rhino and ostrich and
zebras.
I think that was about
emus.
it. Yeah, emus. Water buffalo. So that was pretty cool. Cool to get up close and personal. And then in the main area, when you first pull in, before going through the drive-through portion, there were giraffes and monkeys and kind of a petting zoo area. So that was pretty neat to go in with Lily. She was brushing a little baby cow and different things. So it was definitely worth it. But one thing that we made a mistake on is because we were having to get to San Antonio by a certain time, when you pay for your ticket to go in, it's unlimited drive-throughs, which takes about an hour to do the full circle. We only had time to go through once, so it was kind of a bummer. It would have been really cool to go through at least twice, maybe even 3 times, to kind of make your money worth it, but we did not know nor plan that. So tip, if you go, make sure you give yourself enough time to be able to go through a couple of times. Second tip, which Ben can attest to, is don't try to feed the ostrich.
Don't feed the ostrich. Yeah, he's aggressive.
Ben got attacked by an ostrich.
You're supposed to just like set the food out the window or anything, and like as I have it in my hand with the window open, putting it in. I mean, this ostrich is just tearing it out of my hand. He was, I mean, didn't hurt anything, but I mean, he was definitely intimidating.
Because when he hit your hand, it knocked it onto the window, and then he was trying to get it from the window.
We'll roll a little clip for you.
And my piece of advice, when the llamas come by your window, plug your nose and do not smell. Thank goodness I was not my first trimester of being pregnant, because I probably would have gotten sick. The smell was so bad.
Yeah, they were bad.
So bad. So make sure you don't smell when the llamas are around. Alright, so Natural Bridge Wildlife Ranch, if you are in the San Antonio area, it's not too far off, and definitely a pretty cool place to check out. So we really enjoyed our time there. Next on our list of some of our favorites for the first month on the road would be Hamilton Pool.
Yeah.
And that was, an hour outside of Austin?
45 minutes to an hour.
So we did take like a little bit of an afternoon drive out to Hamilton Pool, and then spent, because it was colder, we only spent like an hour there.
Yeah, hour, probably 2,
So definitely, if it's in the summer, you'd spend a lot more time there.
Yeah.
But it was really, really beautiful. It was worth the drive out there. Make sure you bring cash. They do not accept anything otherwise. And there is not much for ATMs around the area, so you'll end up driving about, another 20 minutes to try and get cash and go back. So, side note, bring cash to Hamilton Pool. But it was really beautiful, like absolutely beautiful. The rock formation, the waterfall, the water itself. We really enjoyed our time at Hamilton Pool, so check that out if you are going to the area.
Yep, no drones allowed. I figured that out the hard way. Didn't see the one little sign. But
apparently when you first drive in, there's one sign that says no drones. We really honestly did not see it. And so we walked in, and Ben set up the drone, was taking footage, and then there's an area you can kind of like go loop around the water back by the rocks, and Ben was going to do this full tour through the little walkthrough and drove it literally as far as we are away from a park ranger, and he was like, what are you doing?
He just asked me to ground it, and we did. It wasn't a big deal. He was fine about it.
He was nice about it, but we really honestly didn't know. We did not see any signs, and we were looking for them. So their signage is bad. You
Don't
can't
fly
bring
your drone.
your drone to Hamilton Pool. But we've got some really beautiful footage and video. Just a really, really pretty place to check out. And there are a few different trails and stuff. We weren't there for very long. We didn't go with the intention of doing any hikes or anything, but I can definitely see spending a lot more time there if you have the availability to.
Yeah, I know in the summer, we were off season a little bit, obviously, but in the summer, I said, like, the ranger guy was saying that, like, the place is packed, like, they have to limit the number of people that can come in, otherwise, like, cars are lined up down the road and, like, blocking traffic pretty much.
And you have to make reservations to swim in it and everything, so definitely if you're going on warmer months, prepare yourself for that, but we went when it was cold, so
it was perfect. It
we
was
had,
5 other people maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say, just a handful of other people walking around, so it was kind of cool to be able to see it without a bajillion people in the way.
Yep.
So last on our list, Magnolia Beach. So Magnolia Beach is right outside of Port Lavaca, Texas, right on the coast, and it is 100% free beach camping. There is no hookups, anything like that.
There's nothing around, let's be honest.
There's literally nothing around. There is the bustling city of Magnolia Beach, which, what did it have? It had a gas station and a restaurant attached to the gas station, and then a
mini
like
motel, like a
6-room hotel.
Yeah, that was it.
That was literally all there was to Magnolia Beach. So you were 25
minutes,
25-minute drive to Port Lavaca, and that has everything, all your necessities that you would need. But Magnolia Beach was so
awesome.
cool because we had been really cooped up into the RV at that point because it had been pretty cold. It wasn't warm by any means, but we were like
jeans
sweatshirt and pants weather, and we could park 10 feet from the ocean. So when we pulled in, it was actually dark, and so we had no idea what we were even really pulling into, but that night we were able to open all of our windows and just hear the waves crashing in, and so that was really cool. Lily did try to go swimming. It was cold.
I did go swimming.
And Ben threw Lily's ball out thinking that it would come back to us because of the waves, and it didn't. So Ben had to go swimming, and it was
cold.
Very cold.
Yeah, it was not warm.
But Magnolia Beach was kind of cool because it is crushed seashell versus sand, and so in the sense of parking your rig on it, you just felt really safe and comfortable. There wasn't any concerns of any sort of sinkage or getting stuck, anything like that. Not as pleasant on your feet when you're walking through, but overall, like, it was a really, really beautiful, just gorgeous, a massive stretch of RVs, just camping for free and fishing. And when we were there, our neighbor was fishing quite a bit, and they caught a couple black drum.
Yeah.
Big and one of them, Ben had to go over and help him, and it was how long? 38 inches?
I think, yeah.
So it was this big guy, and it hit Ben in the face with his tail. So that was pretty cool to see. Our neighbors also caught a really, really beautiful flounder, which I've never seen a pretty flounder, but it was really pretty. And so that was kind of cool to just be in that environment. And I think for us, Magnolia Beach was, even though it wasn't some crazy awesome place to be, I think for us, we were 4 weeks in at that time, and one, it was free, so that was awesome, but we did our longest stretch of boondocking, and so that made you feel kind of like you earned your right as an RVer, that you boondocked for, 4 days. Again, not the longest stretch, and some people are probably laughing at us a little bit for that, but it was just good. At that point, we started to feel a lot more comfortable with our rig and what we could and couldn't do. And then also, I think we kind of clicked at that point of this lifestyle of, we love this. The first couple weeks, we would be lying to you to say that
it was easy or anything like that.
It was a dream, and that we had the most fun, and it was perfect, because it wasn't. We struggled with the transition. Lily struggled with the transition. But at this point, I think, was where it hit of, like, we get to do this all the time. We get to go to these cool places and stay next to the ocean and listen to the waves and have nothing to do for 4 days. And so that was really, I think, the pivotal point of being hooked and loving this lifestyle. And also Magnolia Beach was great because the first couple weeks being on the road, Ben was kind of tied down for a couple weekends at work, and so Lily and I didn't have a lot of time with him as much as we were all together. We didn't really get one-on-one time with Ben. So when we got to Magnolia Beach, that was really some more time for us to kind of just all be together. There wasn't much around, so we really got to just focus on being a family, and that was good.
Yeah, I think that was the thing that really hit for me. Like, this was the first time that we didn't have anything to do.
Yeah.
Like, even if you wanted to, like, there was nothing else around really. So I mean, it was just solitude and just time together. I mean, we just did a bunch of little walks on the beach.
We had a couple of really awesome bonfires.
Yeah, bonfire 5 feet off the ocean. I mean, I think there was maybe a mile or so of sandy beach with RVs.
Yeah.
So I mean, you could keep walking for a good while just down the beach. It was just gorgeous.
Yeah.
I think it was our first chance to really take that in.
Yeah. So Magnolia Beach, that kind of wraps up our favorite moment of our first month. We are excited to bring you kind of what the next month has to offer. But definitely, if you have any questions of any places that we've gone or anything that we've done, feel free to leave a comment below, and we'd be happy to answer anything. Also, we do have our website, thescottlife.com. Check it out again. That includes our map, all the routes, everything we do, and then we're also on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep.
So check us out, follow us along, and we would love to hear from you.